Have you ever wondered why some realtors thrive in one area while others barely get by? Well, that's because you are making one huge mistake with your farming efforts. Hi, I'm Selena Isaac, and I've been a marketer for over 2 decades. Having run and sold my own digital marketing company, I've worked with thousands of massive brands over my career. And what I've learned is that growing a local market requires 3 key pillars. The first is a data-targeted market. The second is a personally targeted message. And last, an effortless, consistent targeted approach. Okay. And when your marketing isn't working, it's almost always one of these pillars that have basically gone wrong. Okay. In this video, we're going to talk about farming and specifically 8 critical steps that you must do before you start farming. And it has everything to do with your data targeted market. I know so many realtors really struggle with farming. More often, they just give up and try something else, right? They farm a market, they spend a lot of effort doing that, and they just don't see the rewards of it. So imagine 2 realtors. Realtor A, let's call her Jane, okay? She chooses a neighborhood because it's popular, she knows it, and she starts farming it with flashy mailers and aggressive door knocking, okay? Realtor B, let's call her Sarah. She uses a data-driven approach to select a less obvious neighborhood in that same city. Now, 6 months later, Sarah is closing deals left and right, while Jane just struggles to get responses and she's just exhausted. So you are probably wondering, how did Sarah get better results in the same city? What did she do? All right, let's jump right in. So the first step is to actually start broad with what you know. Now, by broad, that means you want to start with cities, okay? So we're not going to actually end up with cities, but you want to start with 3 cities that you know really well that you want to focus on, okay? Now, what you know best is really important here. This means it's probably an area that you live in or have lived in the past, or you've actually had recent success with buyers and sellers there, okay? So ideally, you know it, you have some success results in it. I would say that would be one of the first places that I would look. Now, why am I saying select 3 cities? Well, what we want to do in actually the subsequent steps is we're going to dig into each of these with some additional data and then hone in on one specific area in one city that you can actually farm. Okay, so let's go to the next step. All right. What you've actually so far just collected is very simple. We just got area 1, area 2, area 3. So maybe this is 3 cities. I'm going to pick 3 cities in New Jersey. Let's say Paramus, Glen Rock, New Jersey, and Ridgewood, New Jersey. Okay, so 3 cities you are just going to pick. Those are entire cities, and again, it's things that you've had success in. All right. Step 2. All right. We want to determine your homeowner demographic in each city. Okay. So how are we going to do that? So the homeowner demographic is really just the percentage of homeowners that actually live there to renters. So we can actually use ChatGPT, and you'll see this prompt right here on the screen. Okay. This is the exact prompt that I used. Using US Census data, can you tell me the percentage of homeowners to renter ratio in each of these cities? Ridgewood, Glen Rock, and Paramus. It's the only prompt I use. I use it in ChatGPT 4 because that's what's going to give you the data. And sometimes you may have to tell ChatGPT, can you browse the internet to provide me with this data? You may just have to try that. But this is what it gave me back. It said Ridgewood, 79%, Glen Rock, 89%, and Paramus, 81%, okay? So we're not doing anything quite yet with this number, but we want to actually collect it, okay? So now we know each of our percentages in each of those areas, okay? Now let's keep going. Step 3. All right, what you want to do is select a postal walk in each of these cities using the Goldilocks approach. Okay, let me explain. Think of a postal walk like the route a mail carrier follows to deliver mail within a specific neighborhood or area. So for a realtor, actually understanding a postal walk is really, really important because it represents really a segmented area in a highly targeted space for marketing activities. So each postal walk usually covers a distinct set of addresses that you can distribute flyers, mailers, door hangers, or actually just go door knocking, right? They're all connected to each other. It's like the mailman's route. So it's really a concentrated effort where you can reach every household in a particular loop or circuit. Now, this route is actually systematically organized to ensure that all homes in a designated area receive their mail efficiently. So actually by aligning your marketing efforts with these specific postal walks can really just make sure that you are effectively tailoring your messages and your offers, and all your branding is very consistent in that area, okay? How we actually do this is there is a free tool that all of you can use that is from your postal service. So in the States, the USPS has a great online tool that you can access directly from their website. So just go to Google and you can search USPS EDDM tool, okay? And you'll be able to access it, okay? So all you're gonna do is, it looks like this. You're gonna enter in your city and you hit search. You can also just customize a couple of things in there that you want to be able to do. The most common filter that I do, it's this little drop down under residential, and I select residential routes only. That's if you're a realtor who does residential. That would make more sense for you, right? So that's why we select that. And then I also love using the age demographic, because what it's going to do is, you can see here, I've actually filtered for age 46 to 63 because I'm looking for maybe downsizers or people who would want to sell. And they've, been in their homes for a period of time. And I want to see what percentage, right, of that postal walk is in my age demographic. So I really, really like that view. And once you've actually selected how you want to target these, right, you can actually switch to what they call a table view instead of the map view. And it's this little button, this icon on the top right of your, your map that is showing. And it looks like this. And you can just toggle back and forth between map and table. And so when you kind of look through the data like this, you start to see some really interesting things, right? You get to see, what percentage are in that age. And this is probably not the greatest example because it's showing 25 to 34 as the age, but it tells you what percentage is in that age. It tells you how many homes are in that area. It tells you the amount of the people, the number of household people in there, right? So you can kind of tell families when you're looking at that. It tells you the income level, right? Which would give you a sense of affordability and what they can afford. And the cost column you can just ignore for this. It's for mailing for USPS, but we can ignore that part, okay? So sorting by income actually helps to really hone in on a specific market. And you want to notice the total column, okay? Because that's, again, telling you how many addresses or homes it has in that walk. And so you may be wondering, how many walks can, should I be selecting, and what should I really focus on in terms of a size? Okay, so now this is actually what I call the Goldilocks approach, okay? So I like the number, 300, but I'm gonna explain kind of where I get it from. So the best approach is to actually target what you can handle. So the Goldilocks approach, and quick interruption here, actually, I should say, I get a ton of laughs from this part of the video because of the words that I'm using have somewhat different implications. But hopefully I just get your attention right now if you had tuned out. All right, so size does matter. You want to select a market that is not too big and not too small. It just has to be just right. And you want to go deep into that market. I'm sorry. I know this is, it's actually even tough to say. Okay, so you want to pick the right size. And, I always say that less than 500, more than 200. So I think 300 is the right size. And I'm just going to explain where that number kind of comes from. Okay. So with the right marketing, you can expect that 6.5% of homes you farm will transact in real estate, right? And ideally they transact with you if you're doing the right marketing to them. Okay. So that could mean about 20 deals per year. Right? 6.5% of 300 is 20 deals. So on average, you would likely need to spend about $20 to $30 per year marketing to one home. So when you pick about this 300, right, that gives you kind of the budget that normally farming efforts are, okay? So that's why I kind of look at the 300 number. I think it's a good place to start. You can handle that amount of homes, and you can really go deep into that amount, and it's just not too big. Now, again, as you grow, you will expand this, but this is where I would actually start. And it's just going to mean that you will have a very high ROI or return on your investment when you do this, right? Because at 20 deals, $20 to $30 per marketing per home, that ROI, that looks good. That looks good, right? Of course. Okay. So now what data have we collected so far? All right. I'm just going to move my face so that you guys can see this. All right. So we've got our 3 areas, the 3 cities that we picked. We have the percentage of homeowners to renters in each one that we use ChatGPT for. And then we've got the postal walk, right? Which when you have your postal walk, it literally is just this, set of streets in that area. And you'll see that on the map, right? You have the amount of homes that is in that area. And we said 300 is about right. So I've kind of picked them, and the way that I picked those particular postal walks, right, is just really looking at what had the highest age demographic, areas that I know or I've sold homes in, those streets, things like that. That's what you would want to just pick, and you want to pick the best one that you can find. Just pick one in each of the areas, okay? You want to also pull out the percentage in your age demographic that you're going after. So think about your niche, and, if you're going after empty nesters, if you're going after or young families, professionals, whatever that may be, you want to pull out that, percentage in your age demographic, because all this data that we're starting to collect is actually going to help us make a decision in that area. You also want to just pull out the average income from there. Okay. This is all information that you get from that EDDM tool from the USPS. Okay. And if you're in Canada, there's a similar thing. Canada Post has the same kind of thing. You just want to be able to pull out these postal walks. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next step, step 4. Count your entry and exit points. Okay. So what do I mean by this? All right. So what you're actually going to do is literally count how many ways in and out of that postal walk there are. So this is one particular area in one of those cities that I told you, and you can see I can go out in 8 different areas. Okay, that was actually walk 1. I counted it for the next walk, and I just count my exits and entry points into it. Okay, why does this matter? All right, when you're farming an area in the right way, right, you want very few ins and outs of the targeted area. So imagine that you had signs up, right, for some of the entry and exit points. If you have 10 exit and entry points and 3 signs up, that means that a ton of people are missing your efforts, right? So the fewer the amount of exit and entry points, it just means that any signage you have or anything that you're doing, it's going to have a much, much higher reach, right? You want to get to as many of these homes as possible, and the fewer entry points, the better that's going to be for you. Okay, so let's go into the data we've collected. All I've added is the entry and exit points in each of them. Okay, so we've just kind of, what I've collected here is some from ChatGPT, and right under postal walk is actually everything we've collected from the USPS online app, or online tool, I should say. All right, step 5, competitive analysis. We want to see if there is any particular agent that really stands out in this area. You want to know your competition. Now, you need to have a good understanding of what you're up against. So does any agent have a strong market share? Now, again, you can use ChatGPT to help you out here, but it's really important for you to get a sense of this, because the more market share that some agent has, it just means the harder it will be, right? You'll have to put much more effort, much more money into farming that market to take away their market share. It's not impossible to do, but it's data that you should collect to help you make an informed decision. So let's talk about how you can actually use ChatGPT. Keep having to move my face. Okay. So the way that we're going to do this is you want to pull your data out of the MLS, and we actually have a separate video on how you can pull it out from your MLS. The example that we do is for the New Jersey MLS. Every MLS data export is a bit different, okay? Sometimes they limit you on how many you can actually export, but what you want to do is export all the transactions that have that are in those cities, right? And you want to have at least 200 sales. So make sure that you have, you're going to have that if you're picking a city, but you want to make sure that you're just pulling out as much as you can. I usually do the last 18 months. Sometimes your MLS won't allow you to do that. Sometimes it'll allow you to do a year, or it will be too much data that you can't export. So you just got to play with it. But the only information you actually need is the address of the home, right? The street's really important. You're going to need the sales price, the buyer's agent, and the seller's agent, okay? That's really all you need in this data export. So the MLS is going to give you a lot of data export. You can just delete all the other columns, just use the ones that you know. Okay, so what you want to do is find out who is dominant in that area, and anyone over 15% is an agent that is dominant, okay? So if you have 200 sales on that list, right, does any agent have over 30 sales? And you just want to count, right? You're going to count. Now, this is where I use ChatGPT. In ChatGPT 4, you can actually just literally attach that file in your conversation, right? And you can actually use a prompt to have ChatGPT analyze that data for you. So you just upload the spreadsheet, right, with all of these columns, okay? And you add in this prompt. Can you analyze the data by the second column called listing agent ID? Make sure that's what you've named the column. And tell me the count of the number of times that unique ID appeared, right? And that's how you do it for the seller's agent. And that's how we'll get a sense of who has market share wherever, right? Okay, so, and it's also gonna just tell you the percentage, right? And we just want the market share, which would be a percentage. And we're looking for anyone who has over 15%. It's also what is interesting about looking at this data is you can also see who, if you do this regularly, which I always recommend that people should do, or have your VA do it, just look at this data regularly and see who's starting to rise in a market, right? It's really interesting data to see, and tracking it every single month, you'll at least like get those trends of market share. Okay, so ChatGPT has now done this, and you can see I've added in the market share that the top agent has. And so not very high in the markets that I chose. Didn't find anyone who really stood out. So that's actually pretty good, right? That just means this shouldn't be too difficult to farm these markets. Okay, so what is the average sales price in the city compared to your walk? Okay, now this is just an extra step that sometimes you just kind of know it. If you know the area really well, you can just look at the streets and you're like, oh, up here, it's actually a much higher price point of home, but that's really what you want to look for. And so you can actually just do this in the data that you just pulled, right? So you just want to highlight any streets that have sales in the postal walk, right? And then literally just take the average. So you've got the average of the entire sheet, right? So let's say it's 750,000 in your entire sheet. And then just for the streets that you picked out in that spreadsheet, that sales price average was 850. So it's 100K higher in your postal walk, right? You just want to be able to do that so that you can, obviously it's better to go after homes that have a higher sales price, right? It's just better ROI, right? Return on your investment. You'll make more from every deal. All right, so the data that we've now collected is the average sales price in each area above the average, right? So I've got 100K above the average. The second one was in the average. And the last one is 10K less. Not much, but it's still something. Okay, so we're almost done. Just not quite. 2 more steps. All right, turnover. A lot of people forget to think of turnover, right? And turnover is just the total number of homes sold divided by the total number of homes in that community. So if 9 sold in a year with 200 homes, that's 4.5% turnover. Now you want to aim for anything between 5 and 6%. That's good turnover. Lower than 5 just means that not very many homes are on the market. So it's just going to be harder, right? Less return on your investment. That's how you want to think about all of this. Now there's actually a downside to a lot of turnover. So what do we think the downside could be to a lot of homes selling in that area? Well, the biggest downside from a marketing perspective is when you're in that community with high turnover, there's a lot of homes selling. So it's hard for you to get your success actually heard or people to notice you, right? So if you're in a market that there's homes selling all the time, and there's all these agents and whatever, it's going to be harder to get market share, right? Because it's obviously it's a very dense area. Most likely it's a pretty dense area, but it's just hard to make impact, right? Because there's success every single day. Tons and tons of homes are being sold, right? That's making a dent in that, I think is really hard. So be really careful for anything over 10%. I usually am like, stop, don't even consider that. But it's something you want to take note of in each of your postal walks. And actually, you're just going to do this in your city. So in each of your cities, you want to do this, okay? You don't need to do this at a postal walk level. All right, the last thing. So we've collected all this extra data, right? I've got the turnover in each of the areas, okay? The last step is really for you to look at that particular city for future developments, like what's in store for that area, right? You want to think of new schools, new development projects, new shopping centers, things like that that could change the dynamic of people living there or not, okay? Now, this is very often missed, right? Now, you farm an area for a really long period of time, right? If you're expecting something to happen right away, it's not going to, and don't do farming, right? Farming is not for you. But if you're willing to invest the time that it takes, which is just, it doesn't have to be a lot of effort, but it's going to take you time, right? If you want to invest that, you want to make sure that the area that you're investing in is going to create listings, create more buyer demand, or do both, right? So you want to evaluate those 3 questions, okay? So you're going to check your local city for any planned developments, and you're going to ask yourself those 3 questions. Will it create listings? Will it create buyer demand? Or will it do both? Okay, that's the key. All right, so let's look at all the data we've just collected, okay? We've got a new shopping plaza in Area 1. We have a new school coming up in Area 2. Area 3, new community development. Ask yourself that question. Okay, so you have all your data, and this is actually the fun part. I think it's the fun part, but maybe I'm a data geek. Okay, you want to use your wisdom to make the best selection with everything right in front of you. Now, depending on your target market, right, there could be different considerations for each of you in this. So you may look at this data very differently than I look at this data. Okay, it just depends on what you're going after and what's important to you, and based on what you know, right, of the area. So I would probably rule out Area 3. Okay, the age demo is lower than the rest, which I don't like, and the average income entry points and average sales price along with the turnover isn't as strong. Okay, so what I would actually go for is Area 2. I like the new school because that means that there'll be more buyers in there and families, and then it's possible that my age demographic may move out, right? They're already aging out. They want to retire. They want to go wherever they want to go. They're empty nesters. So it's just not going to be the right place for them. And a new school means higher taxes usually. And if that's the case, right, if I were an empty nester, I don't want to pay for school taxes. I don't want my taxes to go towards school. So that may be something that I consider. So anyway, you will each make your own selection based on where you have experience, your expertise on the market, and the niche you're going after. And once you select this, right, it really is just making sure that you have the right approach to consistently go after that market. But you have to start with the right market. If you don't, you're really just wasting a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort. So that is it, but stay tuned for some of our future videos where we will actually go into exactly the approach, which is really important, and the message, which are also key to making all this work. So hope you enjoyed this video and you got a lot out of it. Please leave any comments and how we can make it better or how we can help you more. Always here to help. All right, take care. Bye.